So it looks like we are up and running.
All right.
So far, we've done it correct.
All right. I'll just let me see if I can get your. Oh, okay, I got your live. I'll share it right now. Cool. All right.
So if the audio from your Facebook ends up creating a feedback in your mic, just mute Facebook.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. No worries.
And that way you won't have any issues. I don't hear anything, but just in case.
Okay.
So anyway, wow, this is exciting. This is fun. Such a pleasure to be with you, Martel, and be able for us to just spend some time this evening. And it's kind of weird in the day that we're in. For those of us that are used to being in media, this is somewhat normal, but for those that aren't, this is a whole new normal. And what a fun way to be able to connect, and pleasure to be able to be with you. I think as we start out here, let's talk just kind of a brief overview of what's happening and why we're here. And then I'd like to just kind of step back a few decades, even though you and I aren't quite that old, and kind of tell our audience, who we are and stuff like that. But first of all, in 2011, I set out and actually finally finished and self-published my book, Sin's Cure, No More Picking Fruit, Destroying the Root. And in the process of doing that, I'm not even sure off the top of my head how you and your church and so forth got connected with that. And you may be able to address that in a minute. But because of that, there's been a neat impact that's happened out your way there in Arizona. And what a privilege to be connected with you, your church, and so forth. And fast forward to this year, when I made a pivot back in January, February, prior to all the 2020 craziness, I was already working on getting the video course built and put up and start reaching people this way. And then connected with you and reconnected on this subject. And so basically what's going to be happening for all of y'all, we're going to talk through this tonight. We're going to chase some rabbits. We're going to provide a lot of value, just content about the teachings and so forth that you will get for free tonight. And then if you want to go further into our online course, and over the next 12 weeks, you'll get to join Pastor Stevenson as well as members from his church and others, and work together through the 12-week study course. But that aside, our goal tonight is literally to share a little bit about us so you can get connected with that, but then also talk about this subject of just our desperate, selfish behaviors that we face that create damage to ourselves and to those around us. And we'll explore that pretty deep. Martel and I will bounce back and forth. But what else do you want to add to that, Martel, before we dig in?
Just to add on to what you were saying, we caught on right when you'd written the book. And I remember ordering it for myself. And, I read through it and I thought it would be a great resource. We disseminated through a few of our leaders, and they felt the same. And, like I said, we did it back in 2011, I think 2011 or 2012 is when we read it as a group. But we saw good things come from it. Then, like we said, as the pandemic hits, I saw you put something up about it. I was like, hey, I wanted to hit you up and find out what was going on with it. And seeing that, I really got inspired to bring up or ask our team again, like what they thought of studying it, and everyone was definitely into it and wanted to take another shot at the material, because it was such a blessing back then for us. But our beginnings, like I said, were almost 30 years ago, and like I said, I'm grateful to see where we're at today.
That's incredible. And for those of you watching, I think most everybody's getting used to how all this digital stuff works. But if you see Martell or I actually looking away, that means we're paying attention to other things on the screen, from chat rooms to the Facebook Live, because we're in both places. We're both here on Zoom and on Facebook right now. And such a cool thing that we're able to do all that. But Martell, I appreciate your kind words. And why don't we kind of just give people a little bit of history on who you and I are and what we do today, and kind of bring people into that environment, and just so that there's some context. I arrived, I'm trying to think when you arrived at Southwestern. For those that don't know, both of us met each other 28, maybe even exactly 30 years ago, back at Southwestern University, Assemblies of God University in Waxahachie. It was actually Southwestern Assemblies of God College at that time. And what year did you arrive?
I arrived at Southwestern in 91. I went from
Okay, so it was the
91.
same year. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. And you know, like I said, I had never heard of Waxahachie, Texas until, you know, I got there. And you know, like I said, it was a lot of the people that I met there, you know, I've remained friends with to this day. So it was definitely a good experience.
And I just got, it looks like it says Joe's iPaddy. I just got that added, and I think I missed someone. So if you're listening and had tried to pop in, please jump back in there, and we'll get you
Okay.
in
All
there.
right. Yeah.
We're going to be here
Yeah.
for a bit. So, yep,
Right.
there it is. Catalina's iPhone. Welcome. If you want to throw a little something in the chat there, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on the Zoom group here, announce your presence, say hi. Pleasure to have you guys here with us. So yeah, in 1991, you and I were just a few years younger, and ended up getting there, and I was studying, and I'm going to mute, put a mute on these others real quick for everybody, so you know that that's what's happening. There we go. Okay. So I've got it set just in case people don't remember to mute themselves. I'll get them muted so that way we can have good conversation but still interact. But thank you, everybody, for being here. Such a pleasure to see you and to have you in the room. So yeah, I went there to study youth ministries, church track, and I was a double major at the time. I ended up getting married halfway through school and a lot of other responsibilities. And then also was somewhat a little bit prideful, arrogant person, and ended up messing up a whole semester of classes because I didn't show up and get stuff done, and had to end up with just one major, and just by the skin of my teeth got out of there. But what was your, what were you there for?
You know, I was there for pastoral ministries, and you know, actually, I switched from business administration to pastoral ministries, and you know, like I said, I heard about Southwestern through my pastor, and you know, he was from Arkansas, Assembly of God, and it was like, hey, if you want to go to a college that's going to prepare you for ministry, go there. So that's where I landed, and like I said, I really met you in the school play. I remember, I don't know why I signed up for school play, but it was like, I said, well, I think it was maybe our first or second semester. And I signed up, and bro, you were the star of the play. And I was like, you know, I think we just got to know each other through like all the late nights and through doing all that type of stuff. But, and I think that we lived in different, like I lived in Davis. I was fourth wing. Were you on fourth wing?
I was a second winger. I was one of those that actually liked to study.
All right.
So
I didn't realize you were on second wing. Okay.
I played on third and fourth wing, and then when I needed quiet, I just went back to my hall. So
no doubt. No doubt. Yeah.
Wow. Let's see here. That musical, was that Ruth? Is that correct?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was.
I would have been playing Boaz, and let's see, that would have been Rachel, who is now Hunter today, that played Ruth in that.
Yep, I think that
And
that was it. Yeah.
man, yeah, we had some crazy nights out there, didn't we? That was some neat atmosphere.
Oh yeah, and that's, I look at like that through that time, only being 18, 19 years old, and just being so young, and learning everything, and but being around a good group of people was really beneficial for my life at that time. And like I said, there was a lot of value I've gotten from that time of my life, and good people that I met, including yourself, man.
Agreed. And what a pleasure it is to fast forward several decades. And yeah, we know that there are some people in life that just don't make it and don't do well, but it's a pleasure to see what you're doing there in Arizona, both in a business sense and a pastoral sense. And
Thank you.
tell us about that. What makes up your day-to-day life?
Well, we founded and pastored the Streets of Destiny Church that started in 2004. So now we'll be in September, it'll be 16 years that we've had a church. Now, our church, we have a unique emphasis. We minister to people in need and crisis. The area that we're blessed to be in is a inner city community. It's a beautiful community. They've embraced us. But like any other neighborhood, we have some problems. In our neighborhood, we've got a lot of addiction. We've got mental health issues. We've got a lot of fatherless households. We've got a lot of prostitution. This street that we're on in Phoenix, for those that are not from Phoenix, it's kind of the red light district. When we came out here, people said, "Why do you want a church? Why do you want to start a church on Van Buren Street? All you're going to have is people that are on drugs and into prostitution." But we felt like that's where we needed to be. And from the years of serving out here, there's no place that we'd rather be. So that's where we started now. Before then, or right after we got out of college, I didn't finish college. Now Donovan, he got his degree. I did not. I left after 2 years, but I came back to Arizona, found like what I was good at, and that's sales. So I got into that, got a real estate license. I've been selling real estate since '97, and that's how I earn a living with our church. We're here to volunteer and to serve our time. But then we've also, within the last year, we have developed a nonprofit called the Streets of Destiny Global Outreach Center. From that, we feed the homeless 3 times a week. We take care of things like school supplies for any family that's in financial need. We just did a college scholarships where we gave away two college scholarships to people that are right here from the inner city. They're wanting to go to college, but it's been a blessing. And like I said, that's kind of like what makes up my day. As a pastor, but then also as a business leader. Right now, the real estate climate is hot, so I'm showing houses and listing houses just about every day. I've been at it, since the pandemic's hit. Really, it's been a good time for real estate. But I'd say that within the church, it's even a better time for souls. That there have been so many people that have reached out to us because of being recently unemployed, newly homeless. And, those are very unfortunate situations, but we're equipped out here to be able to take care of that. And I got a fantastic team of people that are around us, not only with the church, but they also work with our nonprofit that are out there to help people. So that's a little bit about Streets of Destiny Church. And like I said, our motto is that we reach out, we build up, and we give back. We don't turn anyone away. We're a ministry of mercy. So.
Love that. As you can see, everybody, why Martel and I get along so well. He's just so easy to deal with, easy to talk to, easy to listen to. But you can tell he clearly loves people, and that's a lot of what we'll be talking about in the weeks to come is the issue that we have in our lives of getting off of ourselves. And I think he does a very good job of that in everyday life. And so I look forward to even seeing and hearing some of his teachings as we go over the next 12 weeks as well. So what a fun opportunity for us to reconnect and reconvene. And I've been trying to connect with people on the Facebook here too while you were talking. And we've got a few people dropping in there. And this is a pleasure and a lot of fun. So so tell us about the first, let's see here. I approached you earlier in the year about seeing how we could develop a little bit further with the video course coming out, and the things that happen in there. And let's kind of talk about that process of how we've got to today. And then I'll kind of let you kind of take over, because this is a partnership we're doing for your church. And I want to make sure that I answer the questions that you're looking for, and kind of the flow there. And then later on, for everybody listening and that's involved, we'll open up for actual involved questions. And then we have some questions of our own that we're just kind of available for too. And so if you've got some of those things, drop it in the chat here on Zoom or on Facebook, or we'll go to our go-tos from questions in the past, because I know a lot of people will watch this on the replay tomorrow, next week, and things like that. And we will give you an opportunity, by the way. Don't stress. We just don't want to be all salesy here today, but we are going to give you an opportunity to join the actual program over the next few weeks and go with us on this journey. So anyway, go ahead.
Oh, so, as when we started talking about it, one of the things, like all pastors and all people that typically go to church, with the pandemic, it's changed how we get our information. So, like many other churches, we've been doing video services. We've also been doing some in-person services, but largely on video recording. So with being able to do our Wednesday service, I normally would just teach from right here at Streets of Destiny Church. We'd have a subject or a portion of scripture that we'd go over. But when we started talking, we started to discuss how we had used the material back in 2012. And back then it was just for leaders. And I gave, we ordered the books and then we passed them out. Everyone took them, they started to read, and then we just brought it back as a small group discussion. And during that time, so we made it through that first round, and then we even had people that taught others, or that kind of helped disciple people with Sin's Cure as a major emphasis to help individuals that first accepted Christ as their Savior. So why I feel like it works with our group is what we got with our group is, with our leaders, a lot of them are first generation believers. A lot of the people that we're running into in our day-to-day ministry, they're not coming from other churches. These are individuals that, if I'm meeting them from a family member, or if we're meeting them from, getting involved in the nonprofit, that's where their connection to the church is. But, what I found in a lot of churches, and most churches, in fact, is we're typically dealing with recycling people that come from someone else's church. But in getting, a unique crop of new believers, I just felt like that your book was the type of material that we wanted to emphasize on, because it deals with the general problem that all of us have. And that's, how do we deal with sin? We get saved by the grace and mercy of Jesus Christ, but then there's this thing that's within us, or there's our flesh that's within us that kind of gravitates, or that there's a connection to sin that really has to be broken. A lot of times that's broken by getting teaching, by getting some knowledge, but most importantly, by being able to use the Word of God and to be able to apply it to be able to get us through this obstacle of sin. And I really feel like that your book, it didn't leave any part undealt with, at least to the new believer. And then also, I would say this too, that with the individuals that are studying this, Some are not new believers, but I think all of us that have served God for a while, we've all fallen away. We've all, taken, gone through a season to where it's harder to maybe connect with the Word of God, maybe just be harder to live a sin-free situation, or a situation where we feel like that we're living victorious over sin. And, some of these words, the colloquialisms that we use as Christians, is not really familiar to the new believers. So in getting, kind of bringing them up to speed, but then also letting them know that all of us that are serving God are in a battle, and that battle is with sin, and that battle is with, going back to our old ways, or embracing things that we know that we should not be doing. And that's where, some of the people that embraced the study, that as they were actively going through it, they were like, you know what, man, I was tempted this week. And I thank God that I was reading Sin's Cure, because it really helped me to know the battle that I was in. It helped me to realize that this wasn't just a matter of dealing with something that was pleasurable, but it really brought the emphasis to like, well, how does God feel about this? And in doing this in abstaining from this, is it something that God acknowledges? Is it something that that other people are going through? So, another thing that Sin's Cure offered at that time was the camaraderie. It brought up conversations about, hey, well, you know what? Our family is dealing with this area of sin. Well, our family's dealing with something like this. And it brought conversations. I know that through our men, there was a lot of individuals at that time, and I'm sure at this time, that were struggling with some of the issues that that men go through, particularly issues that have to do with purity and accountability, our commitment to marriages, to family, stuff like that. So the individuals that were dealing with stuff like, well, hey, I'm struggling with pornography, or I'm struggling with with inappropriate things that are going on within my life. Sin's Cure was a great book, but was also a manual to help to guide a person out of a situation like that. Oftentimes as a pastor, I'll get calls in the middle of the night, and those calls in the middle of the night, I welcome them, because at least they're reaching out to me. Many a times I've had to go to the crack house. I've had to go on the street. I had to go to the club and pull that person out of there. And like I said, that's, as pastors, we do this regularly, but it's good to be able to have a resource to give someone that might not be in that situation, but they're just like, you know what, Pastor, right now I'm in my house and I'm under quarantine and I'm struggling. I haven't been able to fellowship with the people of God. I'm going through this and I'm dealing with the habitual sin. Sin's Cure was, I mean, we know that the Word of God is the cure, but the materials that are compiled in this book were spot on, and it helped a lot of people get out of some dangerous situations.
That is just so cool. And you know, how do you take credit for something like that? I just have the privilege of being able to step in and do the writing and do the study, and hopefully presented it in the right way that allows people to be able to just realize that they were created for a purpose, and they were created with a design by a God, as another pastor friend of mine said, and he actually even put it in the quote on the jacket of the book, by a God that's just crazy in love with you, I think is how he said it, or madly in love with you, or something like that. And I just love that. God really has set it all up for us for success. And too many times we're our worst enemies. And I spent a long time just perplexed with the whole concept of all of this as to why we sin and what it deals with. And I, like you, was on church staffs for years. I now I still continue as a minister and keep my my credentials up and things like that. But I own my own business and do the writings, and now doing the teachings, and in a different form, but it's the same point, as we spend so much time discussing sin but we really don't give people the tools to deal with the underlying root problem. And so it excites me when I hear you sharing these stories. Every time I talk with you, it seems like you've got another angle from somebody in your church. And it's just really neat to me because, we designed it on purpose, specifically so that people from all walks of life, all ages, as you know, and I think you mentioned even in there that it's very practical, very reasonable, yet at the same time, a lot of scripture, because I
Right.
believe that there's great power in the Word of God. And when we embrace it properly, and we follow it properly, imagine that, our very creator, actually giving us the rules of the game. And when we follow it, it works, surprise, right?
That's right.
So many times we just get so caught up in our own heads and our own ways that we miss the very point of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so I'll turn that back over to you. We kind of covered some of the history of where you're at, what you're doing. What direction would you like to roll from here?
Well, I say this, that, and just to add on, I really do think that the book, it was comprehensive. Um, as pastors, there's only so much that can be taught through a sermon. And, I think that we have different styles and way methods by which we get the word out there. But one of the things that I've looked at is I'm always looking for good teaching material, because not everyone is going to get the same thing out of a sermon. But if you can slow things down, and you can break it up, like, with us going 12 weeks, I think that it's really going to give people, not only a full understanding of the root, but just how it materializes, how sin sticks with us, how sin becomes this invasive, parasite that dogs our life out. But, to be able to get victory over something like that, I just think that, realistically, it comes from more than just a sermon. And I think that, like with the book, what I'm excited about is I'm just excited to give people the tool, that sometimes, I see people that through spiritual warfare, they feel like that they're getting beat up. They feel like that they're being victimized. But I like to empower people, with the word of God. And like you said, that every chapter that you've got written, there's like, several scriptures that you refer to, and that you show people how to perfectly place them in their life to deal with some of the issues. So, what I'm excited for is I know that some of the people that I've talked to so far that are signing up with it are just like, they're in need of a revival. They're in need of just like a revival. Like, hey, I need some, like, I'm serving God. I love God, but I need some more fuel to be able to live this thing victoriously. I really find that in 2020, with all of us having like all this extra time, everybody's working out these days. Everyone is doing something for their appearance and things like that. But when we look at for our spiritual side, that this also could be a time when we can enrich and we can become better and we can strengthen the different tools and the different problems that we have within our life, or get stronger. So like I said, I think that specific material helps in that way. Just using this, I know that there's some people that are going to use this material to evangelize to someone else. So there's a lot of the individuals in our church and in our ministry that have someone that is in prison, in jail, someone that's in some type of confined situation. But, oftentimes, and I know for some of, I'm involved with many people that are incarcerated. And sometimes in writing the letters back and forth, you struggle with, okay, what do I want to talk to them about? What do I want to say to them? Well, I look at, like, with this, it offers something to where we can tangibly give to those individuals that are incarcerated, but are serving God, or that are answering the deep questions about, like, how do I get rid of these problems in my life? Yes, I'm dealing with the substance abuse problem, but on top of that, I want to learn how to live victoriously, in my walk with God. I want to become a better mother, a better father, a better family person. And I think that Sin's Cure is something that, if you take the time to invest in it, it'll be a blessing. And I also wanted to say this. I keep mentioning my church, but this is not bound to just my church. We want to open this up to everyone who can hear who can hear me. You don't, by getting involved in our Wednesday night Bible study, we're not looking for anybody to switch memberships. If you got a great church that you're going to, support that church, continue to go to that church. We just, we're offering this to everyone because it's something that I really feel like that from offering it to our church back at that time, that it was a blessing. But I think that anyone that's reading the information and that devotes the time to study will get something out of it that will be a blessing to them, and that will be a blessing to others as they affect other people with the material.
Yeah, that was something that was a big deal to both myself and Martell. We've talked about this for weeks. I went live with my video course a couple of weeks ago, and it's worldwide. It's not restricted to this, but we were specifically putting a design for his church because he wants to use it on, it'll be every Wednesday night for the next 12 weeks, programmed directly through and for the people that sign up there. And if you sign up over the next few days or weeks as you watch the replay of this and want to be part of Martell's deal, after you've signed up for the video course, make sure that you message me and let me know, and I'll get that information over to Martell. We've got it set up to where he'll be able to include you because he's going to be doing some Wednesday night teachings that I won't be a part of, but he's also going to share that online as well for those that are a part of it. So you can join in on that too, which is even a bonus right now that's being offered just with what we're doing and partnering together. I want to stress very clearly to everybody, my goal in all of this, both the writing and the video and then the speaking and the teaching and everything, I want you to win. I just want you to be able to win at life. I'm not saying that I've arrived. I'm not saying, I don't know, Martell would say the same thing. We haven't arrived at great, crazy, amazing success, even in our own battle with sin some days. There are days that I just look at myself in the mirror and just wonder, who am I? And I don't just say that. It's shocking how much our selfish minds and hearts and everything can win out in an instant. We can be doing great in moments of our day, and then all of a sudden we transition into just this other version of ourselves that's just ungodly. And so the battle, I don't believe, is complete until the day of our death, and we get a chance to step into eternity and meet God face to face. But I believe that we have some tools, as Martell put it. That's what I usually give to people. That's one of the illustrations in the book, is we need the tools to know how to work on ourselves. And at the end of the day, the root cause of why we sin is not a cause. Sin is a result. And the sooner you learn that, the sooner you get that clear, our actions and the things that we say and do to others and about ourselves are a result of an inner issue. And through proper habit changes, through proper adjustments in our lives and in our thinking. And hi, Angie, I just approved you. I hope you haven't been waiting too long. Sorry, I looked up and saw your name on the Zoom there. Welcome. But I'll get that muted real quick. There we go. But it's one of these things where when we have the proper tools in life to handle whatever it is that's coming in our day or in our life, or, let's say you've got to fix the kitchen sink. I learned, because I've done that a few times, that there's certain things that I should never touch because I don't have the correct tools to deal with it. Um,
Straight up.
and even with the right tools, sometimes I need a better teacher that can show me how to use those so that I can be effective with those tools. And that's what we're doing here. We want to give you the teaching coupled with the tools on how to use them so that you're not just stuck in life. You're not just facing yourself and disappointed. I teach, I believe there's 5 areas of influence that we all have. The first one is over ourselves. The second is our family relationships, whatever that may be. The third is our business relationships, whether you own a business, whether you work for someone, whatever that is, that dynamic. Then your church, the place that you connect with people on an intimate level that are outside of those first 3, and then your community in general. But I also believe that those last 4, you don't have much influence unless you master the first. And what I mean is if you are already tainted, I liken it to a river or a lake. Once a lake has been tainted, it's very difficult to get it untainted by just pouring in fresh water. That fresh water is always going to get tainted too. And so it's very important that we get ourselves clean so that when we pour into others, whether it be even in our own minds, when we pour into ourselves, and that's a critical thing that we've got to do. We've got to remind ourselves. We've got to have a purpose every day. It's got to be a plan. It's got to be a design. As Paul wrote in the New Testament, daily I beat my body into submission. When you look at that, he actually used an illustration like a beating, like when somebody was in prison and was being tortured. It was that level of intensity. And we've got to realize that our selfishness wars against us that strongly that we have to be very intentional. But once we get ourselves into that right mindset on a daily basis, we form habits of ways of thinking that allows us to interact with everybody else that we come across with. I've started my goal. I want to bless people when I come across them. I don't want to dump on them with whatever that was inside of me that day. I want to be able to give them life, but understand we can only give what we have. If I don't have money in my pocket, I can't give you any, is a good illustration. And it's the same way. If I don't have joy and life and stuff sitting inside of here, it's very difficult for me to give that to you when you need it. And so we want to help people learn how to form those habits. I've referenced this a lot. Caroline Leaf, a neuroscientist, Christian, amazing lady. If you have not read her books or studied her things, look her up, get into it, get into the programs now. She teaches how the science of our brains line up with the scripture and how it all melds together, and the importance of formulating brand new habits and ways of life. But there's a 7-day, I think it's a 21 and then a 63. It's right along those numbers. I hope I'm not misquoting them. But there's 3 phases of what causes things to become permanent in our life. Most of us do well at that first 7, and then we kind of fizzle out. Some of us get to the 21, and then we kind of, okay, well, we did good enough. But rarely do we push through far enough to make it a life change. And so the reason that we have a 12-week program along the 12 sections of the book is very deliberate. It's not an accidental thing. We want you, when done with this program, to not only have the tools, but have a life change, a new way of thinking, a new way of going. It doesn't mean you'll have victory every day. Doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect at it. It doesn't mean that you're going to have it all together. I don't have a get-rich scheme going on here. The truth is, the more you dig into yourself, and we talk about this in the course, the more you're not going to like yourself, because you're going to find that you are inherently gravitating towards a lot of evil things in the way that we do. But the importance is you have to be strong enough to peel back those layers so that you can identify those things, deal with them, get with God in a strong way, and make the change. And then when you fail, get back up, get back on that horse. Let's go again. What if you told your children, I use this as an example in some of the teaching, when you're teaching them how to ride a bike. What if you told them, hey, listen, we're going to go learn how to ride a bike, but your arms are going to be all tore up and your legs are going to be tore up and your hands are going to be full of gravel and dirt and everything. They'd be so fearful they'd never do it.
All right.
But what do? We know that's going to happen to them. But what do? Oh, but you're going to love the freedom of being able to ride. Meaning it's worth the pain and the struggle and the accidents and all the mess ups. The end result is worth it. And that's the same thing with what we're doing here. Your freedom in life is worth the struggle, the difficulty of overcoming you and getting to that place. It's worth it. If you value the relationships you have in your life, if you value the people around you, it's your duty to repair this so that you can be a blessing to them. And the best way in doing it, I tell people, I was on a podcast, I think 2 weeks ago, and it's a non-spiritual, non-Christian podcast, but they were asking me, and I said, from a pastoral standpoint, I'm going to teach you from scriptural things because that's my background. That's my belief system too. But the principles work either way. That if you'll follow the principles in this book, they work. Now they work perfectly when you partner it with God. That's when you get the big win, because he's the creator. He's the one that designed you with your amazing gifts and talents and abilities and the things that only you can do on this earth. And when you partner that with these principles, suddenly the things that you can achieve and that you can do in life is amazing because he designed you for those purposes. But what happens is we're in the way. Our selfish intentions and actions and everything disrupt that whole flow of unity with him, which then disrupts the flow of unity with others. And instead of being a blessing, we actually bring death and destruction to those things around us. And so, yeah, I just got tired of seeing that happen. I got tired of seeing people come to a church looking for hope. They get told, if you'll pray, read the Bible, get saved, everything will be fine. And the truth is no, it's not. It's actually going to get worse because you're going to find out that you're just not that amazing of a creature. You've got a lot of mess. And that's difficult to deal with. It really is. We really don't naturally like to look at ourselves and say, wow, you're terrible at this. But we need to, and we need to do it in the right way. And then the other thing is we inherently know we shouldn't be doing these hateful, evil things, but we don't know how to deal with it. And we don't know how to come out of it. And that's our goal here is to bring you that freedom and bring you that life and teach you the processes of how to stop being all about you. You will find that a majority of your day is desperately consumed with you.
Right.
As you dig through this, I'll warn you, it's going to be gut wrenching, but it's in a good way, because then you'll be able to start seeing the signals in your day. You'll start realize, my goodness, I've been doing this habit. No wonder my thoughts are off. No wonder my attitude is off. No wonder I snap at others. It's because of this and this and this. And now I know how to deal with that. I know how to shift it. I know how to change it. So let's jump into some questions and things like that. I think, Martel, you had some that you were wanting to ask tonight. I'll do my best to answer. We've been rolling for about 40 minutes. If y'all will hang with us, we'll give it another 30, 40 minutes or so. If we wrap up, then we'll wrap up and then dig further. But if you've got questions, if you want to drop that into Facebook or on Zoom too, while Martel's interviewing me, we'll try to tackle those when we get to them.
All right. Well, I want to, one of the questions that had been asked to me from someone who's kind of working on a project similar to yours is, did you feel, or did you face spiritual opposition when you wrote the book, or how were things, behind the scenes as you were putting the book together?
I faced it today. Okay. I don't think that actually stops. It's amazing. As I've been trying to do this course this year, for whatever reason, back in 2013, I'll just back up. The book had been out for a year and a half, and I was thinking ahead. I'm one of these idea type people, and sometimes I act on it, sometimes I don't. But as I get older, I try to do better at acting on the things that are great ideas and then not just letting them sit there. But
Right.
I actually went to record it, and everything was against me. We did a whole weekend of recording. I was getting ready to put it into try to get it into stores. I had some Christian bookstore owner friends and things like that. We were talking to them, and I went to go to do all the editing, and none of the audio had took. And so I literally had done, and a good friend of mine, he knows who he is. I won't call him out on here. He didn't do anything bad, but I just, so it doesn't distract, was kind enough to film and be a part of that. And it never worked. And then there wasn't a convenient time to look at it again. And then there in 2013, 2014 is really when the Christian bookstore environment crashed and burned and basically disappeared. And so I ended up shelving it. The idea of having a course and things. And I didn't know how to do an online course. I didn't know all that. I'm a media guy, but I didn't know how to do those kind of things. And it wasn't as accessible at the time. And fast forward to this year, an opportunity arose to go through a course on how to do this, and then also improve my stage speaking. And I'm working on being booked and coming to people's stages, whether it's digital or live or conventions or whatever, and do teaching and speaking and just, really help people get in here and then lock them into the course. I started jumping in here, and of course I thought, this is no big deal. I'm a filmmaker now, and we'll just film this and we'll do it. No, my goodness. Literally, even when I was attempting to get my thoughts together, there was days in trying to do production that I just couldn't even get my own head under control. And I'd sit down and I'd pray and pray and pray, and I just have to really lock down with God. And then I've been learning the principle of just start some sort of action, and then action begats action in life. If you don't know where to start, just start. And I just had to do that every day. And suddenly we started getting these pieces together and getting it built and getting it in there. And when you go through the course, you'll probably even see it. I noticed when I was watching some of the replay, some of the video, I just look exhausted. And I tried not to. I tried to be positive and so forth, but it was a chore. And, I believe that anything that you're going to do that has value in your life or is going to fulfill the purpose that God designed you for, get ready for the run. And in fact, one of my upcoming books that I'm working on, I discuss through the whole concept of football as life. So I use the illustration of the fact, and it's the same thing that was happening here. Let's say that you're going to go, Martell signed up to go play. You're in Arizona, so you were going to go play for the Cardinals,
Right.
and you got the opportunity, and they gave you the job, they gave you the position. You're going to be the next running back, all this kind of stuff. And you get out there in your first game, and you run across the line, and that lineman hits you and levels you to the ground, and you come crying to the sidelines, Coach, I don't know if I can do this. It's just so hard, isn't it? What is the stands? What is everybody going to do? Fire his butt. Get him out of there. He's useless. But
Yeah.
we treat life like that every day.
That's the truth. Okay. All right. Very good.
The truth is, when we run across the line, what are we expecting? If we're going to go
Right.
fulfill our purpose, what did we expect? The lineman's going to hit you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's his job. Okay. Evil knows what the end result is. Striper I think you were an old Striper music fan.
Yeah.
They just
Right on,
released their new album, and I love the title of it. Michael wrote on there, "Even the devil believes," and that's true. He understands it. He knows the Bible better than we do, and so he's got plays ready to counteract your activity. And you've got to learn how to be ready for it. You've got to learn how to be prepared. And anytime that you advance the ball, and so just like in any sport or football or whatever, when you advance the ball, what's going to happen? It's not if you're going to get hit, it's a matter of when. And so we've got to learn to toughen up. We've got to quit being spiritual pansies and weaklings, and get to the place to have that mindset that we train for it. We prepare for it. We know the hits are coming. So we reinforce our life to be able to sustain those hits so that we get back up. What do we love? What our favorite running back, what will they usually do when they get leveled? Do they get all mad and everything? No, they stand up, they get right back in the face of that linebacker and say, yeah, I'm coming next time. Watch what I do this time around. Why? It's a mindset. It's a different way of living. It's a different way of thinking. And we've got to learn how to approach life that way. But in answer to your question, yeah, I'm taking on territory for people and helping them get freedom. Of course, I'm getting hit. Of course, I'm getting run at. Some days I do well with handling it. Some days I don't. When I'm not following the stuff that I'm teaching myself, and I get lazy and I get weak, I get leveled. And I have to go back to my own stuff and be able to say, okay, you've got to live this too. It's not a one side, I mean, a one fix and everything's great. Daily we have to get back up and work at this again in order to keep it moving.
Very good. Well, no, and that's, I like how you answered that, because this is, I think that there's many people like, man, so I had to commit to 12 weeks. Yeah, 12 weeks study. Well, Pat, I got, this is coming up and that's coming. And I think people like, hey, I want you to hear from the author, the opposition that he faced to even write this. So if Satan wanted to keep the information back, if he's going to mess with the author, what do you think he's going to do with the hearer? All of us are going to have a terrible week. All of us are going to have something that comes up that's going to tell us like, you don't want to do this. I had a situation this weekend that was, it was, one of those things where your life flashes before you. And I just give glory to God that he protected me through it. But in going through that and all that, I've kind of dealt with around that, everything is wanted to sound like, oh, just postpone it. You don't need to do Sin's Cure right now. There's too much stuff that's going on. You just experienced this trauma right now. You got to get your mind right. But, I feel like the Lord's saying, what better time than now? What better time than now than to stay sharp on the things? And why let Satan take this time to where I went through something and keep me down? And I think that sometimes people don't see, the behind the scenes of successful people, that, you go through a lot, you're going to face a lot of spiritual opposition. And I like how you said it, even today, I experienced opposition from getting this message out there. I can say in my personal life, I experienced some major opposition. I'm here today. I'm glad to be alive, but I'm also glad that I made it to this day to be able to get the information to you. Because if Satan is messing with me on this level to stop this word from going forth, what do you think that the potential of this word to go out has? It's something that definitely that he's going to be bothered with if we can get a group of other people with this knowledge and with these tools to be able to overcome sin and to really be able to deal with it at the root. I like how in the book you talked about, like, we have to deal with sin at the root. And one of the things that, a lot of us in Arizona deal with is weeds. And, that you get like, right now we're in the middle of our quote unquote rainy season. We've got the monsoon. So we get these storms that produce like all of this water, and as the temperatures drop down, we're going to get roots, or we're going to get weeds that pop out through our desert landscaping and that make our beautiful gardens ugly. But if we just top the weeds off, they're going to come back. So the thing that I wanted to ask you is, like, when you use that metaphor to kind of help us to be able to deal with sin, like, where do you feel like where do you feel like someone can be blessed from this material in getting the victory over sin and being able to be able to say, like, man, I've accomplished this. I've really have uprooted this. Where do you think that would be?
Qualify for me. What do you mean by where would that be? What's your
Oh, okay. So I mean is it's just like in their lives, where do you feel like that the accomplishment of the victory of being able to say, like, yes, I've uprooted this and it's no longer an issue within my life. Where do you think the victory or the accomplishment of being able to achieve that? Where was that in your process personally? Or like, where did you find like certain areas of your walk with God where you're like, okay, man, I've overcome this. I feel victory at this. I guess the thing I'm trying to encourage is like that for people that have been struggling, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You will, there is a sense of accomplishment. Like you said, as
Yeah.
the running, we get hit and, okay, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you. But like, what's the feeling like when you get to the end zone with the battle of sin?
I think, again, this is why I like the sports analogies. Our favorite batters fail 70% of the time.
Good point.
And it's so important that we realize that, our greatest, to use the running back illustration, since we were there before, our greatest favorite running backs, get 3 to 5 yards on average, not 100 yards every play. We, for some reason in our life and in our minds, we want to get the 100 yards every day. And I feel that the greatest victory that happens when people get into this and they really start embracing the habits and so forth is realizing that, did we advance today? Did we learn? Did we gain some sort of functional ground? And is God happy with me today? Then you can rest at night. When I used to teach youth, I used to say all the time, the real truth of your day happens in those last moments when it's just you and the ceiling. At the end of your day, that's when real truth happens. Everything else is happening and it exists and it's out there, but that's not the real honest time. That honest time is right there. And we have all been there. We've been there where we literally can just close our eyes and go right to sleep because we knew that we fulfilled a good day. And then we've had, probably, if you're like me, we've had a lot more of the days where we laid there and went, man, I royally goofed this up. And I cannot believe I said that. And I can't believe that I acted out on this sinful area of my life, or I treated this person that way, or I just flat out was just so selfish in the way I was doing things. Why do I do this? And we go through that struggle, and then we have restless sleep, and then we start over the next day and we're back at it again and just trying to get through that. So in answer to your question, when people can fix this, their mindset about all of this, it doesn't mean that everything gets great today. It may take you years of warring against certain areas of your life, but it doesn't mean you quit. It doesn't mean you stop. It's that you look at it objectively, and it's no longer a shameful, evil thing. It is evil, but you're not acting under the subjection of that, if that makes sense. You are now walking out of freedom of being able to say, okay, this is wrong, but I'm winning at it. I may have failed a little bit today, but I'm getting back up and we're going to go try again. I hit a rock, and you go back to the bike illustration that we used earlier, I hit a rock and I fell down and I skinned my elbow. The consequences are a lot worse than that sometimes, depending on whatever your sinful habits are, and God teaches us, he's not really that concerned about our sin. He's concerned about what we're doing with it. There's no doubt that's clear in scripture. But he does say that there are certain consequences that go along with it. So we definitely want to improve at the game a lot quicker than what we have in the past, because we want to avoid a lot of those consequences. But the beauty of it is God said that even if you get stuck into consequences, he said he'll go with us if we'll allow him. And so learning these principles of how to reach out to him at the right times of our day, at the right times of our life, to not get so wrapped up in ourselves. Part of the reason that sin has so much control is because we get into the woe is me attitude too, and we address that in there. When it becomes all about you, that's such a dangerous game. We so consistently in our day, but I have to say this, or I want to share this, or, you need to hear from me, and they didn't talk about, and they said this about me, and it's all here. Right. And that's literally creating a breeding ground for sinful activity. And so when I believe that people really get freedom is when they start being able to recognize that and stop it. Stop that when it starts. Literally, I've been working this year for myself, for example, because every time I go through this and I teach it, I'm not exempt from this. It's not like I've arrived. God shows me new areas and says, hey, we need to clear this up. This is not good. This is where you're being selfish. And I'm learning to shut up a lot. I'm a teacher by nature. And so I naturally want to share, and and a lot of it is okay, out of your exuberance to share, sometimes it's too much about you and you need to shut up, dude. And I'm learning how to do that. And so I hope that answers where you were headed there.
Yeah, very, very good. Very good. Yeah, because that's, I think that's what I've, tried to tell people is it can be a lifelong battle. There are, we have, like you said, some days you can wake up feeling victorious, like I got this. I did, and then other days like, man, I really screwed up. But
It's a journey, not a destination.
There you go. There you go. So the next question I had for you is like, who was the intended target for this book? Who did you write this book in mind, or who do you think was the intended target for when you set out to write it?
The first target was me, to be honest.
Right. Okay.
I seriously, for years and years and years, I've dealt with various things that are just crazy, selfish activity that would then cause me to act out in whatever that sinful thing was. And it bothered me to no end. And so I really did sit down and say, Lord, I want to know how to fix this, and I studied various different things, and most of the teachings and things that were out there are great teachings. Don't get me wrong, but they were dealing with sin, not with how to prevent it.
Right.
And so as I dug in there, those teachings are still good. I don't want you to misunderstand me. I want you to use those teachings, but I want you to learn how to deal with sin prior to it happening so that you can avoid having to need a lot of those teachings all of your life. To me, what I teach here helps you get prepared to be able to handle the effects of sin later. But most of us, we deal with the effects. And, the illustration in the book that I use is, if you've got a deep infection inside your body, but all you do is deal with the outside symptoms and the effects, you're going to die. And so my goal, hopefully, would be able to, that's why I wrote it at about a junior high level on my writing. I don't use exuberant, crazy words. I can, but I didn't set out to do that. Because I wanted even on a junior high level for people to be able to read that, to use it, to teach it. I was a junior high teacher for years, and so I have a big soft spot for all people at that age. And I would love for junior hires to grasp this early on so that they don't grow old like us and are still dealing with a lot of the problems because we've had decades and decades of habits built. Now, does it apply to any and everybody? You bet. The business office people can use these principles and actually have increased their sales, because once you learn how to get rid of the selfish activity and stuff in your life, you're actually going to serve people better. And so it applies to all ages, but my main hope and goal was to get to people early, before they formulate lifelong habits that are crazy destructive, like all of us old people.
Right. Okay, very good. So now, since you've written the book, has there been a group of people or a person like you were surprised that it reached, or has there been anyone that you've kind of been shocked to think, wow, I didn't know that this person would be into the book?
I don't have anybody in particular, but as stories have come in, it's always a privilege to hear. I don't look for necessarily it surprising me, because I'm 47 this year, and I've chosen to stop being surprised at things, because God's good at just doing things that will wow you and take you to levels that you just didn't think were possible. And so now I look for those things. And my mindset is more, how can we find the things that they say can't be done, and let's do them. And so, that excites me actually, rather than is more a surprise. It's more of a yes, we did it. We hit that level of where it should be, and I believe this is a universal human condition. So it doesn't it doesn't exclude anybody. And I'm not against those types of teachings. There may be certain teachings I may do that target specific groups and things, and there's a place for that. But the purpose of this was literally about all of us as a human people. Doesn't matter age, doesn't matter economic status, doesn't matter upbringing. It doesn't matter what friends we have or didn't have, or parents we had or we didn't have. It's all of that's irrelevant. We all face this desperate flaw that's in our humanity that came from the beginning of creation with the fall of man. That makes it about us rather than being about God. Jesus said, when he was trying to be cornered by the Pharisees, they said, well, what's the greatest law and commandment and all this? And he says, well, that's easy. He goes, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And then he goes even further, just kind of like sticks it in their eye. He says, and the second one's just the same. And what I love about this, and I was looking at that again this week, the second is just like it, is what it's one of the versions of the Bible says, meaning he says he equates this on the same level. Love God with all and love people as yourself. Those are to be equal. Right. And then he says, and if you do this, in this, all the law will be obeyed. And so, that's been my goal, is, that's why I'm not necessarily surprised when I hear people all over, because we've all got the same flaw, that we are not positioning here properly and we're not positioning here properly. But if we can learn how to set those two positions correctly, Jesus said, we'll fulfill it all automatically. Why? God promised that he would tell us what we need to know when we need to know it. He also promised that when we prefer others, we actually reap that same thing back into our own life. And so he set some laws and some things in action. You don't have to believe in God to follow those things, and those results will come because those are laws that he set. You don't have to believe in God to use gravity. It's his law. It functions. It's the same thing. But my goodness, once you connect with him on this personal level, suddenly there's things that unlock inside of you. God's a covenant keeping God. And it's always, if you, meaning us, then I. And so I believe there's so many things that so many people are not excelling at simply because the if you part hasn't been done yet. It's not that God's withholding it. It's that he's saying, I'm just waiting on you to get with the program. I've already got this for you. It's already yours. You just haven't lined up with what needs to line up. And that's that's my goal, is to help people find that. And, I joke about it, but I always use the illustration with, Nacho Libre. I just change it up a little bit. I just want you to win. I do. I want people to win at life. And so, again, in answer to your question, rather than surprise, it's excitement to me. When I hear the odd thing that I didn't necessarily see it reaching, it's like, yes, that's what this is for. That's what it's about.
Very good. Okay. So, and then for my final question, I just wanted to ask this. As far as people that have gotten the content and things like that, have you been able, or have you seen the change in someone's life that, like maybe that you have taught or that you've known personally on this book? Or have you seen someone on a personal level that you've seen that has had transformation happen with this book in their lives?
It's an odd thing when you're an author and you just have a product out there. You really hear just kind of the basics from people. And so I haven't really been able to engage with that, because on an author level, your product's just out there and people are using it. Whereas I'm just now beginning to step onto stages and to do things like this where we interact and engage with people. And so I'm looking forward to that. I haven't had that privilege yet.
Right.
And that's an added benefit to this interactive version, as opposed to just having a product that people engage with on themselves. And so, because we have a very selfish humanity, unless you prod people, you don't hear a lot from them. But in environments like this, so that's one of the things that's been neat in engaging with you. A small portion of what you're talking about that's happened. I've heard stories from you this year that I didn't even know existed over the last years through your church.
Very good.
And that's been incredible. It's been so encouraging to me to know that even as the author and the person that God may have used to help put this thoughts together, to hear from other people, they deal with the same stuff I deal with. Yeah, I know that consciously, but I face the same weak points in my day and weak points in my thoughts of, is this all worth it? Is it even worth my time? Am I doing the right thing? And then when I hear somebody, like yourself coming in and saying, hey, I know so-and-so, and here's their story, and here's what happened. I know so-and-so that did this, and this is what happened. You gave me the illustration of a prison couple that you're working with, one that's inside and one that's out, and how that, this book, and as they have been using it and teaching it or talking through it, gave them conversation. And that for me this year is probably the coolest story for me to hear, even though it was secondhand, that, here's because I can empathize. I've been really learning how to empathize with people this year. That's another one of my goals. I put a lot of goals on myself. I like to be excelling, but empathy was huge for me this year, and learning how to empathize and, to put myself in that position. If I was either incarcerated or I was the one on the outside, my goodness, you're in two separate different types of worlds. What is there to talk about? And how cool that the teachings that we're doing here are helping in two different worlds, literally, a couple that are connected find their way to win in those separate worlds until such day that they can join together in the same world. That was neat. That was just really, really neat to me. And I appreciate you sharing it. And so, yeah, I'm just beginning to get that type of interaction, and that does excite me. I love to hear people's stories and their stories of winning. It's so cool.
And that's a blessing. And I think that from our 12-week study, that there's going to be more stories that'll come from that. And it just kind of go back to the couple, turning the spouse on. How can I get him a copy of this? Okay, we go through Barnes and Nobles. They can send it directly to the institution. Now you can both read it parallel. Now you can both get this information. Would you have taken the time to read something like this if you weren't in this situation? And just to see the blessing of a family being restored from your book, from the words that you put in it, from the time that you invested, is I can't thank you enough, because it's a resource that, as a pastor, like you said, you wrote it on a level of a junior higher, but that's so nice to be able to give it to anyone that can read, that can read at a elementary level. You can take this book and you won't be stumped by it. You can take this book and you'll get something from it that's life-giving. So, like I said, those were our questions. Other than, just a lot of people excited to see you face to face. I talked about you for years, but a lot of them had never seen us both on camera and stuff. So I think that's a blessing. It looks like some of our old friends from Waxahachie, Texas, joined on, and that was cool to see them as well. And for our Zoom call, I just want to thank everybody who was able to watch, who joined in, because it was a blessing just to see you guys here too.
Agreed. Let's talk real quick, because we got about 15 minutes left on this specific session. Anybody that's been watching or been a part, do us a favor, share this to your networks, put it out there. If you've received value in our discussion and you can see what's coming and the value of what can be done through this, please distribute it, put it out there. I'm going to be posting a link to our online course so that you can sign up and so forth. And right now I have 2 levels of it, but what we're advertising tonight on this is the entry level version, because you're also, if you will message me after, after signing up, that, you know, and reference Martell, Pastor Martell, that you got this from watching the Pastor Martell series. 2 things we're going to do. We're going to include 4 more live Zoom calls between Martell and I over the next 12 weeks, complimentary. We're going to throw that in. Normally, I do the Zoom calls as an upgraded course feature. Then we're also going to be donating a percentage. I believe, Martell, did we decide 10% of the proceeds that come from people that buy from during this 12 weeks? Yeah, I'm going to be donating to Streets of Destiny Church and their outreach program that they have for helping feed people and just help them win at life. People that are really, really struggling there. And so we'll be posting a link to where you can get 50% off of the normal rates. So the course would be at a $500 for the 12 weeks of teaching. And in that, you get bonus videos that range anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes each. And there's over 5 hours of bonus teaching. You get a digital copy of the book. You also get a private Facebook group, Sins Cure group, that anybody that goes through the course from here on out, everybody will be accessing that group. And so there you can share your personal journeys, your excitements, your wins, your struggles, pray for each other, interact with each other, just all that kind of stuff. And so that's gonna be available to you. And we want you to sign up. We want you in there. We want to take you through that. If you're part of Pastor Martell's church, he has a special sign up that he's doing. So you'll work with him direct. If you're not part of that internal group, you can ask him whether you need to be part of that internal group or just go through the direct sign up that I'll put on here. But there will be a link that will allow you to do that. It's simple. You'll put in your information, an email, and it will unlock that that special discount page for you to sign up. It's something that it's a program you get for life. Okay. So once you sign up inside the program, you can access it anytime. There's even the audio version of the videos. So like if you're one of those that want to use it in your drive times, or you want to take it to the gym while you work out. I do a lot of my teachings while I'm training at the gym. It allows you to just be very portable and function in there. And then there's even an app that goes with it, so that you can put it right on your phone, your iPad, your Android, whatever atmosphere that you want to function in. There's no excuses, basically, is what we've got set up in there. So if there's other questions and things, I'm not sure if I saw anything in the chats. Everybody's been super quiet. I think that means that we've done well at communicating. I hope so. And the fact that there hasn't been a lot of chatter, but if we've got a few minutes here, we'd be happy to answer any of those. If not, we will end up calling it a night and conclude up. What other things, Martell, did you want to talk about the next 12 weeks, just so that people know what's coming?
Well, okay, so just wanted to kind of give an overview that we've got anyone that signs up will get the digital format of the book, and you can follow along that way. And like I said, with the format that Donovan's talking about, it's really cool. I've gone through it and I've seen like that he gives a little bit more depth than what you would get in just reading the book. And then every week we're going to come to our Wednesday discussion. We'll be having a Zoom call and we're just going to talk about it. That if you have questions from that week, or if there's something particularly you want to share, or if there was just a particular insight that you got from that chapter, that's where, we're all going to be able to get an opportunity to share. I won't be doing all the talking. I'll prepare a little bit, but I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions and to give input. And we're just going to do it as a group study. As Donovan mentioned, he said that he wrote the book kind of with himself in mind first. But also when I read this book, It's one of the, it's a document that you read it and you can't help but to go inward with it. You can't help but to look at yourself and to take a good examination of the behaviors and the habits and the sinful practices that we have, and to really get those eradicated from our lives. So like I said, each week there will be a little bit of homework that we'll have you to do. We'll have discussion on this. And then, within our Streets of Destiny Facebook page, if there's questions that you have, or if there's anything that you want to add to it, this is, it's something that we're going to learn from, but we're going to grow together with. So that's something I think that's part of the value of us doing it as a team and as a group. I know not everyone that signed up was part of the Zoom meeting tonight. We had a group of people that had a prior obligation. They couldn't make it, but they will be with us when we start up our weekly meetings. So weekly, we'll do it. I mean, if you happen to miss a week, it's okay. You can still our Zoom calls that we'll be doing weekly. We're going to record those and we'll have them available to watch on a re-airing. So now also too, we may be doing ours in a different format. We've got a situation with I think it's the Google Suites. They have a way that we can do video conferencing there. A lot of our people are on with that. We will likely do it from there. So if you have an issue with Zoom, this one is one that we can add on to, or we may stick with Zoom. We just want to make sure that we get the format to where we can get the most people that are interactive and involved. So, and then with this, we encourage questions throughout the week. I'm available throughout the week. So if there's something you read in SinSecure and you're like, hey, I didn't get this, or, Pastor, what's your, what do you think of this? Or, we talked in our class about this, but I'd like to meet up with you to talk further about this. I'm making myself available for individual Zoom meetings throughout the week. If you want to talk about the information from SinSecure, if you're just having a general issue with sin, we really wanted, as Donovan said, I want to see you win. We want to see you win in this. And I know that there's many people that have gotten wins from it before, but here's the thing is we're going to get wins week by week. And it's going to start with next week. You'll get all the information. You'll get into the portal. You'll be able to watch the first week, and then we'll come back that next week ready to go, ready, having consumed the information, having an opportunity to thought about it a little bit, but then also through the week, we want you to compile, or I'd like you to compile your questions. If there's something that you're reading, like, hey, I want to jot this down and see if we can get it answered in our group discussion. What we do at Streets of Destiny Church, since we started, Wednesday nights is a Bible discussion. So this information goes right along with it. It's something we want you to watch the video, to read the material, and to come in with your questions, or even in some cases, come in with your experiences, your stories. I will be kind of the moderator of it, but all of you that are signed up, I'm looking for you to give some input from it as well, because the more that you're personally involved in the information, the more it has a chance of being personally effective within your life.
I want to stress for those, for the part of the SinSecure course that we do, we'll be doing 4 Zooms with Pastor Martell. And if you're part of the course, all of those will only be shown inside Zoom invites, and then inside the SinSecure private Facebook group for people that have signed up. Tonight was free and available to talk with everybody worldwide, whoever shares or gets involved, so forth. But to be a part of the actual program, you've got to get signed up, and you've got to go in there and do that. We'll be kicking off his program there starting next Wednesday night with a live Zoom to kick that off that he and I will be hosting with everybody that's signed up and in there. And so it'll make a very intimate discussion room and things like that too. If you sign up regularly, You can go through the program at your pace, so forth. It's designed across a 12-week deal, but you don't have to be just stuck on the Wednesday nights with Martell and I on that. But if you need that extra support, this is a neat opportunity to where you're not just doing it all by yourself, but you've got a nice connection and a good group with people that love you and care about you. So we are reaching the end of our time, Martell. We've got about 5 minutes. Anything else you want to cover, or discussion from anybody else inside the rooms right now?
I would just say, for everyone that's inside the room or that's watching this on replay, share it. Share this. You don't know who this could really be a blessing to. We're, like I said, it's not confined to Streets of Destiny Church. It's open to everyone. So if you're hearing this and you like, the information that you're hearing, or you might even say, well, man, God had me listen to this for a reason. Um, you know, what better way to get this area of your life handled, and to really start to work on yourself. That this has been the year that a lot of people have gone through body transformations. People have accomplished goals because in this year it's been such a weird year. It's been a year where a lot of the activities we're expecting to happen have been canceled. So now we've got this influx of time, and I think that this is something that really comes at the right time for you. And as Donovan had mentioned, this is written on a junior high level. So for some of you that have children, some of you got high schoolers, you've got a family. This could be the time to where you get everyone around the phone or around the laptop, or however you're gonna do the Zoom call weekly, but to get your family involved. Now, here's what I'll say is that our Zoom calls are going to be shorter. We'll do, we're going to do the class, but it'll actually be a little shorter format. With this, we're trying to get the information out and stuff. So we figure that every week, just like our regular Wednesday night services, we go from about 7 to 8. We feel like that we'll be able to do that with this information as well. And like I said, with the re-airing of it, even if you can't invest the entire time all at once, you can watch half of it now, and you can watch half of it during your morning workout or something. But like I said, I'm excited to start this up. Like I said, it's probably my third time reading it through as a book. But with the new way that Donovan has put together this format, I think it's going to be very exciting. And then also for some of you, if you didn't catch it, in the program, you're going to get a copy or a digital copy of the book. So I had someone that just asked, well, do we still have to buy the book? If you're signed up in our class, you're not going to have to buy the book. It's an ebook format, so you'll have it all there. Now, but if you want to order a book, it's available. I know it's available on Barnes and Noble. I believe it's available as well on Amazon. You can get a copy that way.
Yeah, you can get digital hard copies, things like that. But if you're happy with just the digital, if you buy the program, you'll actually get a copy of that included. So Martell said it great. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be a part of this and to do this with you, and to reconnect after so many years. I know we've talked from time to time, but to really to have the privilege to work together on something, and especially something like this that just truly helps people find their win, is just an honor and a privilege. And I thank you for doing this with us.
Well, I also want to thank you because, to take your time to be on a Zoom call like this, and to just give of yourself to our group. We're gracious. We're very appreciative. And I know that a lot of people, they were grateful just to be able to see your face, to connect with you, and like I said, blessings to you for putting all of this information together to be able to not only help us, but through maybe decades later, that someone else will be blessed by this very content, and to be able to get victory years and years later too. So I just want to thank you for your willingness to do this, and your heart to bless us. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, we're going to be signing off, and I look forward to hanging out with everybody over the next weeks. If you can't attend the Wednesday night stuff, you can still sign up for the program on a couple of levels, and you'll see that inside that link. It explains it. But otherwise, have a fabulous night. It's going to be fun. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all for watching. God bless.